Hi everybody, welcome to the Country Music Time Machine. This is your old pal Kevin. What most folks never remember is most of the stars of country music history were just regular people. They were not born stars. Like you and me, most are just regular people in regular jobs before becoming country music stars. And you have to stand by and stay tuned for the story of a country star that would make Mike Rowe proud. Yes, this country star had a dirty job, and also a country queen that had a job that most would consider quite disgusting. This is Country Stars with Regular Jobs. Do you realize that the person working across from you at the plant or the store or the office or even on the farm could be a future country star? They could be. It is hard to fathom, but most country stars had to make ends meet. So yes, they did have regular jobs. Before we kick things off, please consider taking care of is this my regular job or irregular job? I don't know. Please take care of us here on the Country Music Time Machine. Please like this video, tell all your friends about it, and even more importantly, subscribe to the video, because when you do that, you get those alerts when you click that bell and you can hear all the new stuff we have coming out right here on the Country Music Time Machine, because we can't do it without your support. What was my first job? Well, my first real job was working on a tobacco farm, so I consider that my first job. But my first real paying taxes job, was working at a radio station when I was 14. Makes total sense, doesn't it? Let's kick off things with a look at some great country legends and their jobs before becoming country music royalty. Jimmie Rodgers is the father of country music, and he was not always singing country music. He worked for the railroad, primarily as a brakeman or flagman from the age of 14 until he was 28. So yes, Jimmie Rodgers, the father of country music, was a railroad man. Even Hank Williams Sr. had a regular job before he was a young country legend. He was a young fellow during World War II. He had jobs that worked to support the war machine in the war. He worked in the shipyards in Mobile, Alabama, and even had war-related jobs in Portland, Oregon. The Man in Black, Johnny Cash, was not always a country star. He wasn't born that way. Like many country stars, he was born very poor and did what was needed to make ends meet. Before his time in the Air Force, yes, he served his country, he worked at a General Motors plant in Michigan. Hopefully, he was stealing auto parts one piece at a time. He even worked for a while at a margarine plant in Arkansas. After his discharge from the Air Force, Cash moved to Memphis, worked as an appliance salesman while pursuing his musical career. One of my favorite country legends is Jim Reeves, and he had plenty of regular jobs before becoming a country music legend. He worked as a welder, a minor league baseball player, he did, and a radio announcer. He also worked as a salesman between baseball seasons. Regular jobs of these country stars continues with the incredible Patsy Cline. It's hard to believe that she had a regular job. With a voice like that, come on. But she did have a regular job before she got famous. She had to drop out of school to help support her family and worked at various places, including a poultry plant, a bus depot, and a drugstore as a clerk and a soda jerk. Country music legend Merle Haggard may have spent a lot of time behind bars, but he did work regular jobs before he became a country legend. Some of his jobs were digging ditches and working in the oil fields. He also worked as a farmhand. While Waylon Jennings was not always an outlaw, he had several normal jobs before hitting it big. As a child, he picked cotton. Like me, his first real job was working as a radio DJ, where he was only 12 years old at the time. I was 14 when I started. Like me, Waylon figured that he would not get rich working on the radio, so he also drove trucks for a lumber company. Let's talk about country king George Strait. He was not always singing country music and making ladies dizzy while on stage. He still does. Nope, he mainly worked on the farm and was a ranch manager at Hart Ranch in Martindale, Texas. Now let's head more into the 1980s and get a few regular jobs of the country stars that were big in the 80s. Randy Travis may have been keeping it country in the 1980s, but he was also working regular jobs. He was a cook at a nightclub in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then headed to Nashville, where he was, again, a short order cook at the Nashville Palace before he made it big. Now here is an amazing one. Country queen Reba McIntyre. She had a regular job and what some folks would call a disgusting regular job before she made it big. And of course, she was a cowgirl and she helped her father turn bulls into steers. Now, let me explain how that is done. She said that I would stand behind the bull and hold his tail while Daddy sliced the sack and cut the cord and let the testicles fall. Wow! Daddy would pass the testicles to me and I'd put them in a bucket. Wow, Reba, that's some amazing stuff. Travis Tritt may have been spelling Trouble when he became a country star, but before that, he worked for a heating and air conditioning company for 4 years, starting as a loader and eventually working his way up to management. I have always considered Travis to be a cool country star. Garth Brooks did what it took to make money before becoming a huge star. He worked as a bouncer at a bar in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and sold boots at a western wear store. Additionally, he worked as a pizza delivery driver. Could you imagine Garth Brooks delivering your pizza? Wow. Toby Keith hit it big in the 90s, but his first regular job was working at his grandma's bar. That makes total sense. That experience influenced him to write many great country songs, and some of them about bars. Alan Jackson held several jobs before achieving fame and fortune as a country music star. He worked as a forklift operator in construction before moving to Nashville to pursue his music full-time. You know, when I was younger, I worked at McDonald's. Yes, I am one of the millions that have worked at McDonald's, and I did it to raise money to give away records on my little radio show that I was on when I was in high school. Yep, the radio station was just too cheap to give me records to give away, and I guess that's one thing that I and Shania Twain have in common. We are both veterans of McDonald's. Yes, before becoming a famous singer, Shania Twain had a regular job at McDonald's. She worked in several departments, including the drive-thru and the fry station. In an interview, she was quoted as saying, "I just love to make that perfect fry. You know, the kind you see on TV." Well, Shania, you can make fries for me anytime. I first ran into future pop and country star Darius Rucker in the mid-1980s when his band, called Hootie and the Blowfish, were playing all the time down the road from me. I was working at a club as a DJ in Myrtle Beach. That's where Hootie and the Blowfish played a lot. If you were there in the mid-1980s, Hootie was playing the After Deck and the Purple Gator. Like most things in Myrtle Beach, they have probably already torn those down and replaced it with condos by now. Darius spent a short time working at a record store, but that was very brief. He became a star with Hootie and later released some great #1 country songs. Now let's talk more about country stars still making hits today. After he graduated from high school, Kane Brown wanted to go into the military, but he said he couldn't do that unless he removed his tattoos, so he decided to drive a delivery truck for FedEx. Now, you all know my love for Coca-Cola, especially the type made with real sugar and mixed with peanuts in a glass bottle. Country superstar Jason Aldean worked for the competition. That's right. Jason Aldean was a Pepsi-Cola delivery driver before getting his big recording contract. The beautiful Carrie Underwood got a job as a gas station attendant. I'm sure while Carrie was working there, the line was very long. Not for the gas, but just to get a glimpse at Carrie, probably. She also worked at a hotel for a short while and a pizza joint and also an animal clinic. So before Carrie became famous, she was just regular like you and me. Blake Shelton was also just a regular dude before he hit it big. He had a job most younger folks would not even understand. So if you're younger, let me explain this to you. He was a tape dubber. I am talking about a cassette tape. For you youngsters out there, a cassette tape was the preferred recording medium after those vinyl records and before the compact disc. If you need to know what a record or a compact disc is, just look it up on Google. It'll tell you. Morgan Wallen wasn't always a country superstar. Before fame, he had a regular job. He was a landscaper. And finally, we have left the crazy one, or actually the craziest one, for last. The craziest and possibly the dirtiest regular job for one of today's country stars belongs to Dierks Bentley. And his job really smelled bad. Before finding fame, Dierks Bentley endured what might be the most repulsive job you can imagine: pumping out houseboat toilets after they'd been on the water for extended periods. Can you imagine that? Lacking modern equipment, accidents were frequent. He vividly remembers one stormy day trying to outrun the rain, but getting caught in a messy malfunction. Ooh. For Bentley, even the toughest day on the road pales in comparison to cleaning out toilets. That's all we have for country stars and their regular jobs. This is Kevin. As I always say, let's keep it country right here on the Country Music Time Machine.